Welcome to the Leading Lane podcast for real estate pros by real estate pros with your hosts, Ashley Frederick and Stephen Birch. If you're looking for an honest, authentic, and raw perspective, you found it.
Welcome to today's podcast. I'm going to go ahead and start, Ashley. Here we go. So today we're going to talk about surrounding yourself around positive people, right? So for me personally, before I throw this over to Ashley, I think that where I really flourished in business and in growth of personal growth and the professional growth is when I started surrounding myself around the positive people and removing those toxic people out of my life. So, introducing myself to Ashley, really, she was, my little fangirl, right? Instead, she came up to me. But going around and, making sure that you get to know other people outside of what you are going and used to every single day. So, queuing that up, Ashley, tell me a little bit about what you think it means to be, why it's beneficial to be around positive people and remove those toxic people out of your life.
I mean, I first have to say, did you ever think that this fangirl was going to make such an impact in your life?
No, really, I'm the fangirl of you, right?
So, I mean, I think what is the saying? You're the sum of the 5 people you spend the most time with, right?
Right.
I think that you'll have to ask me the question again because I don't forget. I don't remember what you said, but why?
Why do you need to remove the toxic people out of your life?
Right, because you are the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? So I think that over time, and I think it's not just toxic people. I think that from my experience, yes, it's the negative people, but I've also found that it's just the people that maybe don't, they just are happy with status quo, and that's fine. But then again, if you're always surrounding yourself with someone that's just I'm happy where I'm at, which is completely fine. People can do that. But if you have people that have strong personality or strong goals, that status quo, isn't gonna jive with me over time because I'm just always in go mode or what can I do better and who can I help more? So I think that, the toxicity and the negativity, just makes life difficult, right? And I think that we're all entitled to be able to have a shitty day because it happens, or something doesn't go as planned. And that's what I always try to remind myself is it's okay to have a bad day and you can talk about it, but then the next day, right? You want to be nope, we're on and we're past that. But if you are constantly in, relationships where all it is gossip or all it is just complaining about the sky is not sunny today or, somebody didn't call me back right away or I lost that listing appointment. For me, I always take those, if I lose a listing appointment, man, that is just more drive to go get the next one or figure out what I could have done differently. But if you just surround yourself with the people that are complaining all the time, I just think it's easy to get in a rut. And then you start to see your sales tank or you start to see family life, I think for sure gets, impacted, whether it's with your significant other or your kids. And so what I have just found is that it's been a strategic removal and it's not always easy because some people you've known for years or you've watched their kids grow and right, but people change over time and it's not a bad thing when people separate. But I think it was Girl Wash Your Face, I think was one of the first books that I read, where it really talked about thinking about your current life and what negative people are in it. And at that point in time, I had an admin and I was oh my gosh, she complains about people all day long. She sits in my office and for 4 hours a day, I just hear about everyone she hates. And I was yep, can't do it. And right, we always talk about how conflict is scary and it doesn't have to be right. And it doesn't have to be conflict. It's about communication. But I literally was just hey, I just don't think this is working anymore. And removing that was a big step for me because I removing someone I worked with every day was a huge ordeal. But I felt immediately 20 pounds lighter. And that was, I don't know, 7 years ago. And it's a continual process. Every year I'm who's dragging me down? Who is not on the same boat that I am? Who's not happy for me? I mean, let's be honest, that's a whole nother issue of people that can't be happy that you're doing well or can't be happy that you're trying new things. I don't need those people in my life either.
Right.
So I think the first thing to talk about is like, right, getting rid of the negative people. And I think it's what happens when you do surround yourself with negative people. But tell me a little bit more about what that negativity in your life has meant for you.
Yeah. Well, I think that like the big thing here too that I have to make sure that I say is that when going through this process for myself, I had to take a hard look in the mirror at myself, right? Because I have been around these people for so long. That's all I knew. That the negativity, the gossip, all the all the things that come along with it. But I knew that I wanted to change, and so therefore I first had to change myself and realize those are the things that that I'm pointing my finger at somebody else, but really I had those same type of qualities, or lack of qualities, whatever you want to call it. But for me, really, at the end of the day, like I don't really necessarily look at like I'm breaking up with somebody. Like when I say removing them, it's they're still a part of my life, but it's not that I no longer allowed them to be such that core center of the group. And I still listen to people's opinions, even though if I don't agree with them or whatever. But at the end of the day, my five, if you will, that I have at my core, those are the ones that align with me, the direction that I want to go in growth. So I think the big another big aha moment was I was with a group of friends one time, and this person made an extremely negative and just derogatory, just like awful comment about somebody's livelihood and growing up. Um, and that was, I think, the one time in my life, like I felt like I had this like light switch literally like turn on. Like it was like, oh shit, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be around that person. I don't want people thinking that I have that same opinion of others. So I really had to remove myself and like we're still friends, but we're not as close. But that really changed and shifted that. It's like, no, I recognize that was something I did not want, and really the boundaries. And that was, what was it? Welcome Home. I can't remember the author on that one, but it talks about boundaries and it talks about which rooms you're going to allow people to come into. But the main thing, your home is you, and I no longer want that person to be able to bring that toxicity within to my home anymore. And I love sharing this portion as far as like boundaries. I always kind of thought that was like a cliche type of thing, like oh boundaries, whatever, therapy, blah blah blah. Love therapy, by the way. Like I think it's a good thing for everybody to go to, I included. But what was my therapist was like, all right, what is the reason for a fence? We sell real estate, so what is a reason for a privacy fence? Ashley, what do you think?
Well, I think most people would say to keep people out.
Right. But what about it's really, if you look at it, the fence is for keeping it safe, everything inside safe. And so when I really switched that mindset of, yes, I'm boundary, I'm going to put up my fence. It's not to keep them out, but it's to keep me safe of where I'm going to make sure that I can stand and have the quality of life and the ethics, the morals, and everything else that I want to be. So, I really think it's you first having to align with what you're really after and where you want to go, and then you have to surround yourself with other people that have that same like mentality, that are going to help you flourish and accelerate to the direction that you want to be able to go. Don't know if I answered your question, but I went on a little rant there.
Yes, but I think, right, like I want to encourage people that, like, if they don't feel good, right, like what's going on in your life that's not making you feel good? Like, is it really the a situation is it that you're in, or is it really like someone that you're hanging out with that maybe isn't a good influence? And I think that you can also like just become aware that you need help, but you don't necessarily know where to turn. So like two things that is like I reached out to someone that I respected a lot, and I just said like, hey, I'm like I don't know what it is, but like I'm in a bad spot, and like you need to connect me with somebody that you think can help or whatnot. And he was like, yep, like you can't, I don't want you to like to hang out with XYZ, but you need to meet this person. And like, right, like made a connection of somebody that was, strong personality. And I think that helps, a lot. But I think the other part, that you mentioned, Stephen, that we don't talk about a lot is that you said you talk to your therapist. And I think that as we know, like mental health is such a taboo thing in the world that we live in, and it shouldn't be, because we live in a really tough time, and a lot of things I think get pushed down, and I think there's been a whole bunch of posts this week about 4 years ago, right? Like our lives changed like this week, 4 years ago, which is like completely true. And I think that offset like a whole nother issue, right? Because like any issues that you were having or who you were hanging out with, like, let's be honest, like I had a lot of friends that ended up getting a divorce because of COVID. And
Mm-hmm.
you think about it, right now you're like stuck in a house with someone that might be that negative or
Right.
whatnot. I think that's what happened. Like people had been forced to spend that much time together.
Right.
Or not only that, but then it was like the isolation part of that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I do think it's important that we recognize that, if maybe the help that you need is therapy, like just to be able to talk to someone. Like I've had that conversation with a lot of friends recently. Like they'll tell me some of their things, which like I am by no means a therapist, but being the
Mm-hmm.
one that was able like to say, like I can't help you, but like you should maybe check out. I can't remember the one online that's like it's the one online that's
I think it's Get Better. There's a couple of them.
like Better Help
Um,
or something, I think was the other one. Yeah,
uh,
like look into those. Like those are fine. I mean, maybe they'll help you realize like there's somebody toxic or maybe something you're not dealing with from your past that is affecting the way that you interact with others.
right. Well, and like I can't lie. Like I've had this, negative view of therapy, right? Like, and I don't need therapy. I don't need therapy. I've never went through traumatic things. Well, in reality, my entire life I feel like is looking back at some of these things have been very traumatic, and I was not talking to anybody, and so I went through a couple online therapists, and it was all virtual, obviously, um, and it definitely worked. I learned a lot, but really the talk therapy wasn't really the thing that spoke to me. Really what I did next, it was I did hypnotherapy. And I never thought that I would be like thinking that I was going to go to a hypnotist or anything, and that changed the way that I thought and how my anxiety and me losing weight and these insecurities that I have about myself. I really felt that resonated with me. So it may not be just the talk therapy. I mean, there's so many different things that are out there, but you have to be open minded, open hearted, and be willing to go and seek help and figure out, well, what does work for you and what doesn't work for you.
Right.
But I
It's
think
like a
you're
matter
right.
of awareness of your own self.
Absolutely. And again, that goes back to you have to look in the mirror first. Like so and maybe you are the toxic person and you don't realize it, right? Like but the great thing that are all able to do is change ourselves. We're in control of only ourselves. And so getting those other, professionals to be able to help you and guide you, and then you surrounding yourself with the positive people that you're the direction that you're wanting to go to, definitely is huge. I know that especially for men, in my opinion, like you toughen up, guys don't cry, that you're not supposed to have any feelings. Like all we're all humans. I don't understand, why it's acceptable for women to have these feelings and not men. Like we're supposed to suppress everything. Like you're bottling everything up, and then you add on everything else of the people around you. At one point you're going to explode. Like you're mentally going to explode, and you're going to be in an unhealthy situation for yourself, and it's going to be even harder to pull yourself out later on if you don't start making those steps, once you recognize that you want to make a difference in yourself.
Yeah, I mean, and I think right, even on like the women's side, right, like if there's just like a notation that like you're emotional if you
Right.
have any issues, or right, and like why can't we just all be upfront with how we feel? And I think it's been kind of fun, to watch the like Jason and Travis Kelce. I mean, let's
Oh,
be honest, I love watching them, but
they're amazing.
right, like to watch like two like men that are fine in their emotions. Like his retirement speech, was from the heart, and I think that it was great to like read the comments, like, oh my gosh, like these men are showing that it's okay to have feelings, like it's okay to, mention what's gone good and support, who helped you get there. And I mean, I think that's been great. What do you think you saw, or how have things changed once you started having different people in your lives?
I think that what I saw and experienced was obviously my change in how my opinion, my mindset um shifted, of that, like everything doesn't have to be negative. Let's look at the opportunities that are presenting themselves versus just sitting here and being the victim at everything. Um I also feel that as I am more vocal and more around positive people, I'm attracting other people that want that same type of positivity and growth that they're looking for too, right? And I really think that that's what we're all here to do, is to help people. I used to say I hate working with people, and that's not true. I love working with people. I just hate working with assholes. But I want to be able to, help other people and help them grow and share my experience too, which I think that helped me in hindsight, being vulnerable and opening up and talking more about emotions and talking more about the failures in life, the opportunities in life that have been presented to me, instead of just, I used to never want to talk about my sexuality. I never wanted to talk about having a restaurant and failing at that. But really, those are huge, monumental things that have made me who I am now. And so sharing that story, I think, has helped more and more and more people. So it's almost like you are taking off blinders. Like each time that you level up, for lack of better terms, you're taking off another layer of blinder, and things start getting clearer and things start getting easier. We still have shitty days, right? Like we all do. And there's tons shitty weeks, there's shitty months. I can't lie. But when those shitty times actually come to you, I think it's way easier to navigate through those and process through those versus just sitting and dwelling and being, again, the victim at everything.
Yeah, I mean, I think that goes back to our like original conversations about like, right, how you spend your mornings and like taking care of yourself. So I found, like we've talked about, that like getting my morning workout in or making time for myself, I feel like really helps balance the day of when those, things happen. But I think even more so, like, I think it's fun to like recognize when you have grown and you're not necessarily realizing it, but when you're having a conversation with somebody else, and when you'll hear someone and they'll be talking about, I don't know, like the girls that are talking about them at the local football game. And I was like, why in God's green earth do you care about that? Like, like you got to remove those people. Like that doesn't have anything to do with anything. And it's just funny sometimes, like looking back and like knowing that I was that one too, that was like so concerned about what people were saying, or I felt like people were talking about me. I'll never forget this time that we were at Country Jam, like a music festival, and Ben and I were in line for the bathroom. I don't know if I told you this story. And there were like these two younger girls, and they were whispering. And I said to Ben, I'm like, oh, young girls, they're just so mean. Like, I'm sure they're talking about like my big waist or, whatever. And he was like, oh, I actually like, you're ridiculous. And no lie, like right before I went out of the bathroom, they're like, oh my God, we just wanted to tell you like how much we love your hair. It's so beautiful. Yeah, so I felt like complete
Yeah.
asshole, right? Because like
Well, like,
we're in this thing that like people when they're whispering, it's like always a bad thing, right? So I'm glad that these young girls said something that says a lot about them. But right, I've like made that a point too. Like if you see someone like that, like looks smoking hot today, like tell them. Like if a shirt looks great on them, like tell them. Like be that light at the end of the day for someone. Like I had a client yesterday that said she could like never pull off colored pants. I mean, and this girl is like smoking like great. She's beautiful. Like, and I was like, what? And I was like that's a challenge. Like, I want to see you wear some colored pants because I know you're gonna pull that off. So it's just funny like how we're all stuck in our own ways. But I'm hopeful that maybe pushing her, she'll wear some
yeah,
colored pants and she'll rock them. But again, it's a matter of being around people that and acknowledge that, push you to be like who cares what someone else thinks? I'm gonna wing it.
absolutely. And like we all are our own worst enemy. Like we think
Mhm.
the most negative about ourselves, and then we think everybody else is saying all these things about us. But in reality, like if you like hone in on exactly what you're doing, and like to your core and your heart that you are doing everything right and you are doing things the best of your ability, like, who kick rocks, people? I don't care. I really don't care that people have an opinion about me. Where I have an issue is when people are fake to you directly to your face and want to put the smile on and how wonderful you are and blah blah blah, all these things that they're telling you, but then in reality they go back to their little, I call them their gossip girl group, and they're talking shit, right? Like, I made a post a while back ago about all these screenshots that I have from different people, of conversations, like, that are being talked about me, like literally talking shit about me in a text message. Like, cool, I know where you're at, and this is where the boundaries come through, right? Like, now I see you, I check you, like, you do
Exactly.
you, you can have your opinion about me, but I'm not allowing you in to come into my home and into my fence. Like, let me build that fence up real quick and put you right outside, like with the rest of the dogs. But you have to be strong enough, and it takes a long time, and it is hard to be able to take that stance and no longer allow those people in. Because at the end of the day, like, those are the people that are going to try to pull you down, and if you don't recognize it and you don't see what they're doing, like, you're gonna like flounder so quickly, right? And then twofold, the person that is receiving those messages, like, it makes you question, like, is that person really a good person to be able
Right.
to, why are they comfortable enough to have a conversation about me? Like,
Mhm.
cool. Let me move you outside of that fence too. So I'm very
Right.
protective now of my time and my emotions. I don't need other people to, alter. I can have enough emotions myself. I don't need people to throw those rocks at me, and nor am I going to pick up their rocks and throw it in my backpack and carry for them. So absolutely freaking not. People
So when
are.
you're around positive people or you're around, ambitious people, how do you think that that changes like your outlook on your business or your day-to-day activities or even just how you choose to spend your time?
Yeah, like, so I distinctly remember you. We all were, I think, in Cancun that trip, right? And
Uh,
I don't remember what. No, I think it was
I wasn't
your guys'
thinking, but anyway.
yeah. Anyways, we were in a pool somewhere drinking margaritas. Seems to be a
Yes.
theme. Um,
Can we
but
do that again
we,
soon in like, I don't know, 45 days?
yes, please, we need to get that on the books. But we were talking, like, in even though that we were, having cocktails and everything, you and I were having a conversation. Ryan and Ben were having a conversation, and the conversations were about, like, advancement. What are we doing? What are we going to do next? And I said, um, by next year for my birthday, I want to be healthy. I want to lose weight, and I want to finally stop, like, making excuses, and I want to be able to, feel good about my body. And I don't really have necessarily a number or anything. But you said, "Cool, check you," right? Like,
Oh, this
I'm gonna check
conversation.
you.
Okay, yep. This one was in Cancun. I didn't know which pool.
Well, one we don't remember because that's a different story, but not by our choice.
Yeah.
But yeah, so, and you were like, "Cool, like, I'm gonna challenge you. Let's do this." And you said, let's do whatever workout." Did not do that, but
Yeah.
whatever workout. Let's challenge each other. And I was like, hell yeah. And here we are, what, 2 more months away from our birthdays. And I'm 20 pounds away from the goal weight that I wanted to be. And I'm at the weight now, of what I was in college. So if I didn't
Nice.
have somebody like, hey, let me push you, let me challenge you, but also let me do it with you and be there with you, not just, oh yeah, you can do it. Like, I send you pictures all the time in, you know, clothes. You were one of the people that said you're wearing too big of shirts now, and I would have never even, recognized that I needed new clothes, right? And so you were bold enough to be able to say, "Yo, yeah, that's not working for you anymore." And even though it was like kind of like, I mean, I know you're coming from love, but it was like, damn, she just like dissed me, but I really loved that the challenge was there because you're looking out for me. So I think that rolls into my appearance, then rolled into my confidence, and then we continue to talk, we come up with ideas, we recognize that there's a need to help other people that are out there. If I didn't have you, I would not have ever done a podcast. I would have not done these types of things. So I think it's really making sure that yes, it's small step for mankind, but here you are, it's one little step that you recognize that you want to be better, but really it is a snowball effect if you continue to push each other and challenge each other. And really that goes from the additional businesses that we have started to in everyday life to now I have another resource to be able to say, hey, I had this situation happen, what would you do? And my favorite thing so far that I'm going to coin, I think that we're going to make bracelets over this, is WW, what would AD, WWAD. I don't know why that's so hard. What would Ashley do? And we've
Yeah.
incorporated that in our office now. Like, what would Ashley do? And so it's not like a pushback to our agents, but it makes them stop. Like Missy was one of them. Hopefully, Missy, you're listening at this. She asked what she should wear to a cocktail party that we were going to. And I said, WWAD. And she was like, all right, I get it. So she went from jeans to a cocktail dress. Like, I didn't even have to tell her what attire it was supposed to be or anything. She knew that Ashley's level of expectation and what Ashley would do or wear at a cocktail party. So she knew that she wanted to step up her standard there too. Fantastic. Like it, when you surround yourself around people and the other people that you're bringing with you in that journey too, it flows over to them as well. So just that one different of a relationship really can change the aspect of your whole dynamic of all the people around you on a local level. So
Well,
again,
thank
I
you.
don't know if I answered the question, but I just ranted.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You know that I feel the same way. Two things. So the best part about that same cocktail dinner was that both of our husbands showed up in the same exact shirt.
Yes.
Ryan was literally looked at Steven and I and was like, you did this. Like one of those, TikToks where like they secretly, and like Steve and I looked at each other and were like, I mean, like legitimately, no. Like,
No. Like
it
it
was,
took me
I
a
mean,
hot
it was
second to figure out what
priceless.
was happening.
Yes,
Like, oh,
I
it's
love
so
that.
but
But yeah, the second part of that is that it is right. So like around like the people that you're surrounding yourself with, like you have to find those people that are willing to like question or to push or like before we got on this phone call, I was like, "Are you going to take out your gum?" I mean, like something like as simple as that. But like for women, like
right.
this is one of my biggest pet peeves is like right as we all know, like I'm an extreme lipstick wearer these days. And what I can't stand is like when I have lipstick on my teeth and no one tells me, like we're at this conference and it was like 4 hours before somebody was like, Ashley, and I was like the five other people I talked to today haven't said anything.
Right.
Right. And like same thing this morning. She's like, girlfriend, you got a little bit of, I'm like, thank you. But I think it's just a matter of like wanting someone around you to be like, could you do that differently? Like, and,
Mhm.
and you do that great with me. Like, there's some things I get kind of fired up about. And then you're like, okay, but let's think about it from this point, and I'm like, I didn't want to hear that, but sure. Um, so I think though that it's a matter of like being able to have friendships where people will question or will say like, hey, like maybe you could have handled that a little bit differently, or I understand you're in a really hard spot. Like, what can I do to help? And right, I think it comes back to like checking in on people. Like, I have a
Right.
girlfriend that, is working on some things and she needs a push and so sometimes I'll be like, so like last month you said you were going to do this and I haven't seen it yet. And then she's like, oh, Ashley, LOL. I knew that you'd be on my ass sooner or later. Right. So like those are the people because we just want you to be happy and we want you to do things outside of your comfort zone so you can do other things and make more profits or just be healthier in general, right? Like wake up every
Right.
morning excited to conquer the world.
Well, and if you're still around, those status quo people, then none of those challenges would have been pushed over to you, like whatsoever. And it's something just as simple of calling somebody out, being respectful, obviously, but putting somebody, holding them accountable is really what I think it all boils down to, is not only just accountable for you and as a friendship, but like holding them accountable for themselves. And because if they're not willing to hold themselves accountable, then when are they ever going to hold you accountable? So yeah, I definitely think that you have to be the person to help tell people, hey, you're looking great today. I mean, you got on the call today. I was like, whew, we're feeling sassy today, and I'm loving it, right? Like the straight hair, I love it.
Uh,
You know, these are things out of our comfort zones, but we're trying them, and we're trying to continue to grow ourselves. And you can't continue to do it if you're stuck in a rut and you have your blinders on. You're just constantly going to be in this spiral world. And I now can recognize people pretty quickly when they are the victim in their own story every single day. So, the other thing that I do want to say on this, and then I'll wrap it up on my side, but is there was somebody it was online, and I don't know why we all go to Facebook and social to be keyboard warriors, and voice your opinion, and then you start this gossip girl in a form for all the world to see. But there was somebody that made an extremely kind of negative post about a mutual friend of ours. Um, and then another individual stepped up and said, hey, that's not right. That's not what we do. You have to still cheer each other on, type of thing, and really squashed the gossip form that was going back and forth. I went up to the person that squashed it and I said, hey, I want to let you know, like, thank you for saying something. Like, thank you for standing up and actually saying something so that we can stop, like, shut that shit down. And she looked at me like, oh, oh my God, like, really? And I was like, hell yeah. I'm like, I mean, like, you beat me to it. I saw yours, so I didn't need to say anything else with it. But I just wanted to give you kudos for actually standing up for somebody else when they are not there in the same room, to be able to defend themselves. Those are the type of people you want behind you, the ones that will stand up for you even when you're not in the room.
yeah, I would agree with you 110%. I mean, I remember that somebody on a Facebook page said something about like that dumb blonde realtor doesn't know what she's talking about. And it was having to do with like our housing crisis or whatnot. And a girlfriend of reason, and like when someone's not in the room, like if they're a really good friend of yours, and we've had to do that, like people say something, I'll be like, well, like, first of all, like either that or I don't know them. Like I don't know them, so I can't tell you if that's how it is. And that's been a really hard process for me, is like to not fall into that trap. But I think what I want to leave people with is just take a minute to yourself and, really evaluate like who you're spending time with, and are they filling your cup or are they draining your cup? And if they're draining your cup, then, try to find those other flavors, if you will, that can fill it so that you can move on and feel good and, take on the crazy world that we live in every day.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, thank you guys for tuning in today. We greatly appreciate you and looking forward to the next topic. So have a fantastic day and go change the world. Be better.
If you've enjoyed today's episode, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Stay connected for more genuine insights and strategies to boost your real estate career on Facebook, or check out our website. We'll see you next time.